Hey up you lot. Welcome back to the early days of the Premier League in 1992. In just the opening 7 days and 2 games, there's been a staggering 56 goals, 38 yellow cards, 2 red cards, both for punching, a massive brawl, and believe it or not, we've already got a plethora of goal of the season contenders.
We are Premiership stars, relive the league. I'm Ben.
And I'm Mike. Hello to you and yours.
And we are here to take you back to 1992.
Not physically before anyone gets in touch thinking we're starting a cult to go back in time and change things. We're going back to the start of the Premier League. We're going back to where that all began. We're going to relive it all together.
Yeah, we're going to do it game week by game week, reliving all the goals,
all the comedy, everything we can possibly do throughout it. We're only 1 game week in, we've seen goal of the season contenders though so far from Gavin Johnson, Mick Harford, David Bardsley with his free kick on Wednesday. David Phillips has got 2 contenders in that so far. That's just mentioning a few. We've had Simon Osborne getting a 90th minute equaliser for Crystal Palace on the opening day against Blackburn, a game they weren't expected to get much from. Yeah, red cards are plenty.
Yeah, we've even got 2 red cards in the episode
in this
today.
one, we had the midweek episode. It was the first ever Premier League red card. Was for a punch by Niall Quinn. You wouldn't expect that. And then we had the brawl at Southampton, resulting in Mickey Adams getting sent off. Yeah, it's action-packed to say there's been 8 days. Well, today's episode is the 8th day of the Premier League. So the players have been playing Saturday, Sunday, Monday. There's games Tuesday, Wednesday. We're now back on Saturday. It's balmy.
Yeah, lots of thick and fast really.
Yeah.
But today's episode we're going to see some great goals yet again. In particular Graham Stewart's goal.
Yeah, if you haven't seen that goal yet, you have to stay tuned to watch it. I don't know how that goal hasn't been replayed for years and years and years to come, especially by the Chelsea fans. You know how they love a moment to shove in your face. It's just a wonderful bit of brilliance, bit of individual brilliance, and one that we like to celebrate. We also celebrate the unfortunate side of things as well. We've seen the circumstances around Paul Lake and his injury, and obviously we know how that turns out, and yeah, it's tragedy in that sense, but I wish we could have got to cover Paul Lake's career a bit more, but yeah, unfortunately we can't because he's such a magic player.
And in today's episode we are also going to be touching on Tottenham. Will they ever score that all-important first Premier League goal? This is their 3rd Premier League game. Will they get the first goal that they are looking for?
Well, yeah, they're going to this week, aren't they? You've got to expect it this week, but it's typical of Tottenham, isn't it, to provide the comedy moments for the first 2 weeks. Obviously,
very Spursy.
Well, they've got the term. I don't know what that term actually is defined in a dictionary definition. It's just anything that Spurs do. So anything that Spurs do is Spursy. So yeah, hopefully it'll be quite Spursy today for them to win 8-0.
Very. And then we've also got Man United too, who are still to pick up their first Premier League point.
All I'm going to say is, yeah, this is my favourite part of ending the season in the Premier League ever, because we all know what goes on, we all know what happens, and I'm going to bleed that dry as long as I can, because I know I haven't got much longer.
And we are also making sure that you all know to keep up to date with us on places like Twitter.
Yeah, come and see us on there. We've got a big sack of giveaways, as you all know, who have come from Twitter. We've given some great things away. We're going to try and keep doing that. The football from the last episode, we're giving that's on its way out with Postman now. We've got loads more things. We've got match programmes, we've got shoot magazines, match magazines, annuals, panini stickers. Let us know what you want. Tell us what kind of things you want as well. We've got our own store on there which we sell Premiership stars bits and things like that as well. If you want to go look at checking out mugs and t-shirts, a Ray Parliament, there's a Lynn Park Risky Wambia, things like that. Just come and have a chat with us on there.
Yeah, so Twitter, our handle is PremStarsHQ, and we also have some videos going out on TikTok.
Only for kids.
To find that, it's PremStars8, and while you're on YouTube watching this, please make sure you subscribe, like, share the hell out of this.
Yeah, some people, like myself, your dinosaurs on there, you don't know what's going on. You obviously can't comment and like and share and things on these. I don't know how YouTube works and everything like that nowadays. Just sign up with your Google account. They've done half help us, these things, and we really, really appreciate it. And anyone who obviously who shares things for us on Twitter, we try and reward in any way we can with giveaways and things. So the more we know about the people who are helping us out and sharing, the more we're inclined to probably send something to your doorstep.
Without a doubt. So it's time to press the rewind button.
Yeah.
Let's go back and relive the league.
I'll see you there.
Because Calibre from Guinness is completely alcohol free, it doesn't affect your ball control.
This thing's not working!
Press the button! Well, we had a day out and we took ourselves off on the street. We took our tea. And you know what we found? That the best sort of round is Teddy. Cause you need to unwind and what springs to mind and Me head's still spinning.
It's all right, Sydney. This'll bring you round.
Today is Saturday the 22nd of August 1992 and we start with a trip to Birmingham to Villa Park to watch Aston Villa face Southampton. Villa haven't exactly started at a rate of knots and haven't really impressed, but are still unbeaten with 2 1-1 draws, and star striker Dalian Atkinson started the season in fine form with 2 from 2.
Southampton travel to Villa Park to take on Ron Atkinson's Aston Villa. Neither team have managed to find a way to win yet. Surely that will change today. Who will find that first win?
Ron Atkinson selected Nigel Spink in goal, Sean Teal, Paul McGrath, Steve Staunton and Earl Barrett at the back, Gary Parker, Kevin Richardson, Ray Houghton and Steve Froggatt, who's coming in for Tony Daly, and Dalian Atkinson and Dwight York up front. The potential changes are Les Seeley, GWk3 and new signing on a 1-month trial, Frank McAvenny. And Ian Brand puts Saints line up with Tim Flowers in goal, Richard Hall comes in for Jason Dodd, Mickey Adams, Francis Benali and Kevin Moore, Jeff Kenner, who's replacing Steve Wood, then Glenn Cockrell, Terry Hurlock and Matt Letizia in midfield, with an up-front 2 of Kerry Dixon and David Speedy. The potential changes for Southampton are Ian Andrews, Tommy Widrington and Ian Dowie. And, as we touched on in the previous episode, Southampton have a bit of a reputation for, let's say, dabbling in the dark arts of football. Mickey Adams received a straight red card for walloping Ian Holloway in the face, but he's in the starting lineup today. Aston Villa assigned Frank McAvenny on a 1-month trial. Today he came off the bench to replace Dwight York just before half-time. And in the 65th minute, a cross came in deep to the back post. Who was there? Frank McAvenny knocks it right back across, and Dalian Atkinson, who else, makes it 1-0.
Yeah, that's 3 goals in 3 games for Big D.
Ron Atkinson chuffed to bits to see a trialist with the assist. Villa didn't really offer anything else in the game, and Southampton hadn't been any better, but Dalian Atkinson must have thought he'd got the 3 points today. But with 12 minutes to go, and after a suspect bit of defending, Sean Teal's definitely been down the bookies this week. Kerry Dixon ran into the penalty area and hit a low pass into the path of Cockrell, who swept the ball across, where Mickey Adams, the villain from midweek at Loftus Road after he instigated a full-on Barney, made it 1-1.
And who'd have thought it? Aston Villa drawing 1-1 again.
Villa drew 1-1.
And Dylan Atkinson scored again.
Dylan Atkinson scored? Not
3 consecutive games, Mike. Aston Villa, 1-1, and Dylan Atkinson. Let's see if either can win next week. The unbeaten Blackburn Rovers host Manchester City at Ewood Park today.
City defended really well in midweek against Borough, but Bernie Slaven twice broke the resistance in as many minutes, leaving them with no points and a 2-0 loss. So it's going to be a big ask for him today.
Yeah, and against Blackburn Rovers, it's not going to be easy at all.
Blackburn line up in a 5-2-3 formation today, with Bobby Mims, Colin Hendry, Kevin Moran and Alan Wright, who comes in for the injured Jason Wilcox, David May and Tony Dobson in defence, Tim Sherwood and Mark Atkins in the middle, with Stuart Ripley, Mike Newell and Alan Shearer up front, and the subs are Matt Dickens, Chris Price and Roy Wegley. And Man City start with Tony Corton in goal, Keith Curle, Michel Vonk, Ian Brightwell and Andy Hill at the back, Steve McMahon, Mike Sherrin, Fitzroy Simpson and Rick Holden in the middle, with David White and Niall Quinn up front, and on the bench Martin Markinson, Peter Reid and Gary Flitcroft. The game at Ewood Park today was billed as a battle between Alan Shearer, the most expensive striker in league, and Keith Curle, the most expensive defender. However, we were treated to a more of a drab affair. The only moment of any note came after David White had a shot on goal, which Bobby Mims saved and quickly cleared upfield. Alan Shearer showed some great control and vision, finding Mike Newell, who finished with a magnificent half volley past Tony Corton. 1-0 to Blackburn Rovers.
First goal of the season, and of course the first Premier League goal for Mike Newell, the former Leicester and Everton striker, adding to his already impressive goal-scoring record.
Never mind goal-scoring record, he's got a very impressive fashion sense. I want that turtleneck.
Well, that wasn't what we expected, was it, from Blackburn?
No, City toughed them up, to be fair. They did it in midweek against Middlesbrough as well. They just keep little bits of concentration letting goals in, but you never know. If they win that race for Terry Phelan, he'll shore it up potentially.
Gosh, let's see. Ipswich Town, they travel to Old Trafford to play the winless Man United.
The pointless Man United.
Also pointless.
Alex Ferguson scraping the barrel for a win with a team of Peter Schmeichel, Steve Bruce, Gary Pallister, Clayton Blackmore and Dennis Irwin at the back, Mike Phelan, Darren Ferguson, Andrei Ganchelskis and Ryan Giggs in the middle, and Brian McClare and Mark Hughes up front. And on the bench, Gary Walsh, Neil Webb, and still Dion Dublin does not get a start.
He'll still get his chance.
Get out, Dion. John Lyles travelled up north with an unchanged team from midweek of Craig Forrest, David Linnigan, Phil Whelan, Neil Thompson and John Walker at the back, Jason Dezell, Gavin Johnson, Mickey Stockwell and Geraint Williams in midfield with Paul Goddard and Chris Kawambi up front, and Clive Baker, Eddie Yards and Simon Milton on the subs bench. Alex Ferguson admitted in his programme notes for today's game that his club were desperate for a win, so it was more than predictable that United would begin this game with a frenzy of attacking efforts. I'm not sure if Brian McClare was trying to feed in Ryan Giggs there, but whatever John Walker was doing, it stopped Ryan Giggs doing whatever he tried to do. Then Peter Schmeichel trying to throw on a world record distance. And what's this by Kanchelskis? Well, he used to hang his shoulders up, like get a coat hanger in his shirt and just run. No other direction but forward. So good. So, true to form with the United season, they batter teams and go 1-0 down. A long throw from Neil Thompson, and Chris Kawambi finds himself free at the near post and stabs it under Peter Schmeichel. When you find yourselves in time of trouble and you don't know who you're going to turn to, and you're desperate for a win, and you're desperate for anything, who do you turn to? I'd say your left back, and who better than Dennis Irwin, plamming one in from the edge of the box right into the top corner. 1-1. Naturally petrified about the rollicking they're going to get at full time, United put the pressure on and kept going, cornering by Giggs, Bruce and Hughes going for the same thing, and either would have got the same outcome. Not like Man United to pin the hopes on a youngster to fulfil expectations beyond his capabilities. Man United had a future superstar in Ryan Giggs. Today he was just held back by the skills and defensive prowess of John Walker, who did just enough to put him off enough. And even if Ipswich did dare go into the final third, Peter Schmeichel would grab on arrow on straight to the Russian. He'd get his shoulders up again, he'd jingle jangle, inside, outside, and then hit a fan in the throat. Oof. Yeah, Andrew. Ferguson... He's not happy, is he? But... he's gonna be.
Yeah, well, for now, I'm afraid they are struggling. 3 games gone, and only the single point. 3 draws for Ipswich, having drawn all of their games so far.
Up in Middlesbrough, at Aston Park, the Giants, Leeds United, are in town. Lenny Lawrence has gone with Ian Ironside in goal, Alan Kernahan, Derek White, Jimmy Phillips and Chris Morris at the back, Andy Peake, Tommy Wright, John Hendry and Willie Faulkner in the middle, with Bernie Slaven and Paul Wilkinson up front, and a bench of Brian Horn, Jamie Pollock and Robbie Mustoe. And Leeds line up with John Lukic in goal, Chris Fairclough, Chris White, Tony DeRigo and John Newsom at the back, with David Batty, Gary McAllister and Gary Speed in the middle, and Rod Wallace and Eric Cantona behind Lee Chapman. And the subs include Mervyn Day, Steve Hodge and Gordon Strachan. Leeds have enjoyed a slow but steady start to the Premier League season and are still waiting for French international Eric Cantona to show the kind of form he was in at Wembley in the Charity Shield, where they beat Liverpool 4-3 in an unbelievable game of football. Cantona bagged a hat-trick and all the headlines, as well as keeping all the silverware polishers of Yorkshire happy by adding another piece to the already impressive trophy cabinet at Ellen Road. There were also time for a great bit of comedy from former Manchester United man Gordon Strachan, who, well, he did his best. You'd be forgiven for thinking the champions of England and current Charity Shield champions Leeds would walk this match fairly easily against the newly promoted Middlesbrough side. But Lenny Lawrence's Middlesbrough, the tough as all boots, and it only took 7 minutes to prove any doubt was wrong, with Tommy Wright whipping it across and the superb Paul Wilkinson getting yet another 1-0 Borough. Summer signing from Leicester, Wright was causing Leeds all kinds of bother down the left flank, and just a minute after the first goal he popped in another cross onto the head of Wilkinson again. Same combo, 2-0. Already with his 2 assists today, Wright then decided, go on then, I'll score one as well. And after Jimmy Phillips whipped in a corner, Wright met it with his head and left Lukic standing 3-0 to the mighty Borough. And then something happened to make a grown man cry. Well, it made me cry. Ian Ironside pumped one 70 yards up the pitch. It landed at the feet of Tommy Wright, who took a touch and played in Scott John Hendry, who coolly finished to make it 4-0. And, well, go on, John. You do whatever you feel's necessary, mate. 4-0. Then, after 68 minutes, Leeds thought, well, you know what? Let's have a go then. So Rod Wallace pinged in a cross, Cantona chested it down and absolutely walloped it into back at net. But he wasn't going to celebrate that, was he? Mighty men don't celebrate consolations. 4-1 Middlesbrough. The champions humbled at Aston Park. What a game for Middlesbrough. What a game for Tommy Wright. 3 assists and a goal, leaving Lenny Lawrence to admit it was the most professional performance he'd ever been associated with. Go on up, Borough. Lucky Leeds.
A battle of 2 unbeaten sides meet at Carrow Road today as Norwich take on Everton.
These Canaries aren't going down any mines. In fact, under Mike Walker, the only way is up for Norwich. It's been an amazing start to the season for Norwich, an equally amazing start for Mark Robins as well. Today, Mike Walker has chosen Brian Gunn in goal, Rob Newman, Ian Butterworth, Mark Bowen and Ian Culverhouse at the back, Jeremy Goss, Gary Megson, Super David Phillips and Rolf Fox in midfield, Mark Robins up front, and replacing defender striker John Paulston is striker Chris Sutton. And today's subs are Mark Walton, Ian Crook and Lee Power. And for Toffees, Howard Kendall selected Neville Southall in goal with a back four of Gary Ablett, Dave Watson, Alan Harper and Andy Hinchcliffe. Mark Ward, John Eberl, Barry Horn and Robert Barzica make up the midfield, with Peter Beardsley and Paul Rideout up front. And the substitutes are Jerry Payton, Peter Beagrie and Mo Johnston. I don't know what baffled Manchester United more this season. Was it the Yorkshiremen in Santa hats at the start of the season? Or Everton battering them at Old Trafford? Whatever the way, let's see if Everton can take the form forward from midweek into today's game. The first half lacked a bit of spark. We had to wait until the 55th minute for a little bit of magic, and that magic came from who else? Peter Beardsley, who lashed a left foot volley under Brian Gunn to give Everton the lead, 1-0. And then, after 68 minutes, Premier League royalty Rule Fox came to the Canaries' rescue. He out-jumped Gary Ablett to head in Mark Robbins' pinpoint cross and equalise. 1-1. You cannot keep a Mike Walker team down.
That's correct, yeah. They have gone 3 games now where they've gone behind and then come away with a point. Or
2 wins and a draw.
Yeah.
Unreal.
But yeah, both teams, great start for both teams, both Norwich and Everton, both still unbeaten. So let's see how they can progress as the season goes on.
Oldham have started the season with 2 points from 2. If anything, a great start for them. Forest, still just the 1 win against Liverpool. Today Oldham start with John Hallworth in goal, Richard Jobson, Steve Redmond, Neil Poynton and Gunnar Haller at the back, Neil Adams, Paul Bernard, Mike Milligan and Nick Henry in midfield, with Ian Marshall and Graham Sharp up front. On the bench are John Keeley, Craig Fleming and Roger Palmer. And the away teams start with Mark Crossley, Brian Laws, Stuart Pearce, Steve Chettle, Nigel Clough, Gary Crosby, Scott Gamble, Roy Keane, Terry Wilson, Ian Wone and Teddy Sheringham. Still here. Still a lot of speculation about that move to Tottenham. On the bench are Andy Marriott, Kingsley Black and Gary Bannister. All action, attacking football was never in short supply at Boundary Park. Last season, Oldham were the First Division's second highest scorers and worst conceders on their own turf. So it was typical that today would probably be a 0-0 draw. Or would it? Because sometimes the Premier League, however wonderful and amazing that it is, can be as unpredictable as David Seaman trying to catch a cross at the back post. Or in this case, Nottingham Forest Mark Crossley, who did it for a tick and allowed Neil Adams to steal in at the back post to make it 1-0. And a few minutes later, the ball was played up long to Graham Sharp and he managed to skin both Steve Chettle and Stuart Pearce without even touching the ball, then popping it in the far post away from Crossley's reaching hand. 2-0 to Oldham, the Latics in a Premier League dreamland. And just before half-time, a ball got played up the wing towards Norwegian fullback Gunnar Haller, and he kind of just jumped in the air and just headed it anywhere he could, and nobody paid any attention apart from Nick Henry, who came out of nowhere and left the Norwich defenders for dead, really. 3-0. 2 minutes after the break, we had a contest of who doesn't want to score the most. And Nottingham Forest, taking the early lead in that game of who doesn't want to score the most, gifting the ball to Oldham, who go on an incisive breakaway down the left, take it to the byline, cross it in. Stuart Pearce says, have another go. Sharp says, no, I don't want to score. Gunnar Haller has just moved to England. He doesn't understand the rules. 4-0 to Oldham. Forest heard they were playing who's trying not to score, and they really thought they had a chance at winning another European trophy. But unfortunately, Paul Bernard, he took the ball away from him and set Gunnar Haller marauding in on goal. And to be fair, great finish, Bernard. 5-0 Oldham Athletic. 3 goal involvements, Gunnar Haller. And then Oldham said, I tell you what, we're Oldham. We don't really do 5-0 wins. Why don't we try and help you out? And, well, there was a missile sent at a Nottingham Forest player. And then Stuart Pearce sent his own one into the back of the net. 5-1. Luckily, we play a sport. We don't believe in technological advances. We believe in instinct and passion when we're playing our game. So we had no cause for concern whether that was a penalty or a free kick or not. We all just lived in the moment and enjoyed the fact that Stuart Pearce scored a penalty and this game was entertaining. And in the dying minutes, when everybody was home and free and it was going to be a 5-1 victory for Oldham, Nottingham Forest decided to be good. And Scott Gimble went through the middle, played a through ball out, and Gary Bannister made it 5-2. Then 2 minutes later, Ian Woan found himself in space out on the left and whipped in across and net the head of Gary Bannister, the 2-goal hero for today. Nottingham Forest scored 3, but concede 5 to Oldham. An 8-goal thriller at Boundary Park. What's happening at Forest?
So we've got Queen's Park Rangers hosting Sheffield United at Loftus Road. Very impressed with Queen's Park Rangers so far. Can they carry on that beautiful style of football that they're playing?
Yeah, they've got goals galore in them, haven't they? And Jerry Francis hasn't had to make too many changes today. Andy Impey misses out through injury, so the one change that comes in is Simon Barker to replace him. But other than that, you have Jens Stechgal in goal, David Bardsley, Alan McDonald, Darren Peacock and Clive Wilson at the back, Ian Holloway, Simon Barker, Andy Sinton and Ray Wilkins in midfield, with Dennis Bailey and Les Ferdinand up top, and on the bench, Tony Roberts drops back down, Danny Maddox and Gary Thompson. You've got to say that Sheffield United are going to be very impressed with the start they've made. They may have lost at Liverpool in midweek, but the great win against Manchester United on the first game of the season. Obviously the goals of Brian Dean. Today's lineup is Simon Tracy in goal, David Barnes, Paul Beasley, Alan McCleary and Kevin Gage at the back, with Ian Bryson, John Gannon, Glyn Hodges and Mike Lake in the middle, with Alan Cork and Brian Dean up front, and the 3 potential changes, Alan Kelly, Charlie Hatfield and Adrian Littlejohn. It's hard to believe the Premier League's only a week old, what with all the goal of the season contenders we've had already. But today, you've already had a couple. You're in for a treat. Here's one more. Les Ferdinand lit the fuse for a firecracker of a match with a superb solo strike on only 3 minutes. He beat 3 men on a dazzling 20-yard run before grabbing his 3rd of the season. Alan Cork barely had time to change out of his cardigan and crimpline trousers, as only a minute later he equalised on his return back to the starting lineup, 1-1. After some great play out wide by Andy Sinton, I've got to say some flat-footed defending. He whips in across, and Simon Barker makes it 2-1 with a bullet of a header. In the 63rd minute, Brian Dean carried on his superb start of the season with a towering header that looked likely to get Sheffield United a good point.
He's now scored in every game he's played in the Premier League this season, 4 goals in 3 games.
Yeah, Sheffield United might feel like they've done enough to earn a draw, but what they hadn't reckoned on is Dennis Bailey's scrambled winner 7 minutes from time. Give QPR a very well deserved 3 points.
So a very impressive start to season for QPR, by far the most entertaining team that we have seen. 7 points from 9. I can honestly see them doing well if they can carry on playing this style of football.
Yeah, well, Bassett said after the game that he thinks they play entertaining, attractive football. He said there definitely is dark horses for the title. Not sure I agree with that. Obviously, yeah, Jerry Francis is waxing lyrical about Les Ferdinand, thinks he's England material, and why not? Laurie McMennie was in the crowd today. He's Graham Taylor's assistant. England got a friendly next month coming up against Spain. Got Brian Dean, Les Ferdinand, David Hurst, all banging in goals.
Gary Lineker.
He's in Japan. It's going to be exciting. Look at the future. Ripley on the wing, Sinton on the other side. Well,
Mike, it's coming up. Got Sheffield Wednesday hosting Chelsea at Hillsborough.
yeah, they made a great start this season at Sheffield Wednesday. They're unbeaten in 2. David Hurst has got himself 2 thus far. Obviously in midweek against Forest, got both of them. Chelsea got a bit of worries coming though, aren't they? Vinnie Jones probably going back to Wimbledon. Wednesday lineup this week: Chris Woods in goal, Phil King, Roland Nielsen, Nigel Pearson and Paul Warhurst at the back, Chris Bart-Williams, Carlton Palmer, the American John Harkes and Nigel Worthington in midfield, with David Hurst and Paul Williams up front, and on the bench is Kevin Pressman, Danny Wilson, who makes way for Harkes, and Trevor Francis. And Ian Porterfield has picked Dave Besant, Paul Elliott, Mal Donaghy, Steve Clark and Gareth Hall at the back, with Vinnie Jones, Eddie Newton getting a start, Andy Townsend and Graham Stewart in the middle, with Robert Fleck and Mick Harford up front, obviously both new signings. And then the bench: Kevin Hitchcock again, Damien Matthew and former Port Vale striker Joe Allen. Wednesday started the better of the two sides today. They should have taken the lead, but Paul Williams was millimetres away from his first goal for the club. Then a cross came in, David Hurst rose at the back post, headed it wide and lost a boot in the process. But Chelsea finally caved in the 27th minute from a Nigel Worthington corner. Unbelievably, Sheffield Wednesday's 9th corner of the game so far left David Hirst unmarked at the back post to stab home under Dave Besant. 1-0 to Sheffield Wednesday. Then some great hold-up play in the middle by David Hirst sent Paul Williams free with an unbelievable challenge on the defender. No foul given, and an unbelievable challenge by the defender on him. Nothing given. Nothing given. And then 10 minutes later, David Hirst was assaulted in the box by Steve Clarke. It was the clearest penalty you'll ever see. The referee gave it without hesitation, but the Chelsea players will protest. So David Hirst against Dave Besant. 2-0 Sheffield Wednesday.
His 4th goal of the season so far as well. Graham Taylor has to put him into that England squad next month, surely.
Ian Porterfield must have had some strong words at half-time because just after the break, Gareth Hall lofted in the free kick which Paul Elliott nodded down and Vinnie Jones finished from 2 yards out. He celebrated like only Vinnie Jones could. Chelsea were looking for a little bit of inspiration to complete the comeback, and a little bit of inspiration they got. Graham Stewart picked the ball up 30 yards from his own goal and took off. He kept running. He beat 1, he beat 2, and coolly slotted home underneath Chris Woods into the bottom corner.
That's his 2nd goal of the season. What a comeback. Comeback's on. Go on, Chelsea.
And Sheffield Wednesday fans don't seem too bothered about giving away a 2-0 lead. Must be used to that down at Hillsborough. And just under 10 minutes later, Chelsea took the lead when Eddie Newton nipped in between the hesitant Nigel Pearson and Phil King before sending Chris Woods the wrong way and side-footing the ball just inside the post.
Eddie Newton's first start of the season, his first goal, justifying why the manager started him today.
Surely
the comeback is
for the
complete.
Or is it? Because Trevor Francis pulled off a tactical masterstroke. He brought himself on. And Danny Wilson. Now some great play by Francis down the left. He popped a cross in, David Hirst headed it, and Danny Wilson found himself 2 yards out with an open goal to make it 3-3. What a game!
Sheffield Wednesday remain unbeaten and Chelsea are still searching for that first win.
And a couple of goals despite signing 4 strikers. Anyway, Graham Stewart's goal. What a goal. Genuinely go back and watch it. I don't think you'll see many better. And Ian Porterfield, the Chelsea manager, agreed. He said, "You'll never see a better goal anywhere than Stewart's. When he set off, I said to myself, what the hell's he doing? But when he scored, I wasn't worried at all what he'd been doing." And that is a genuine quote from Chelsea manager Ian Porterfield. Slow off the mat this season, Wimbledon, with no points from 2 games, whereas Coventry sits second with 2 wins from 2. Wimbledon line up with Hans Sagers in goal, Roger Joseph, Scott Fitzgerald, Dean Blackwell and Gary Elkins at the back, Warren Barton, Gerald Dobbs, Steve Anthropos and Laurie Sanchez in midfield, with Robbie Earle and Dean Holdsworth up front, and on the bench Neil Sullivan, Paul Miller and Andy Clark. And Bobby Gold has selected Steve Grizovic in goal, Peter Atherton, Kenny Sansom, Andy Pearce and Terry Fleming at the back, Mickey Ginn, Lee Hurst, Stuart Robson and David Smith in the middle, with 2 target men up front, John Williams and Robert Rosario, with a bench of Jonathan Gould, Lloyd McGrath and Peter and Love. Coventry started the better of the 2 sides today, and in the 13th minute David Smith broke down the left and crossed into Mickey Ginn, who touched, turned and finished past Dave Besant into the corner. Robert Rosario was still looking for his first goal of the Premier League season. Dave Besant must have backed it, and then, well, enjoy yourself, Robert. Not everybody gets a Premier League goal. And in the 73rd minute, Dean Holdsworth picked up on a loose ball in the box and showed everybody why Joe Kinnear paid all that money for him from Brentford. Wimbledon's poor start to the season continues, rooted to the bottom of the Premier League after 3. Coventry, unbelievably, top of the league. Can they carry this on? Well, let's find out.
And next up, we've got Crystal Palace travelling to White Hart Lane to take on Tottenham. They are still searching for that first goal.
Yeah, and obviously new signing Jason Cundy at the back. He's out injured. Got taken off in midweek with a nasty looking head wound. So it's not just at the scoring side of things they're panicking on this week. They got to worry about keeping him out as well. And Big Doug's only made 4 changes in pursuit of his first goal for this week. Eric Torsved has to keep his place in nets. He replaced Ian Walker at half-time in midweek due to injury. Obviously Dave Tuttle's come in to replace Jason Cundy at the back to partner Neil Ruddock, with Terry Fenwick and Justin Edinburgh. Vinnie Samway, Steve Sedgley, Paul Allen, Darren Anderton and John Hendry in midfield, with Gordon Jury up top. And a substitute bench of Chris Day, Dean Austin and Andy Gray. And for Crystal Palace, Nigel Martin in goal, John Humphrey, Andy Thorne, Eric Young, Chris Coleman, Richard Shaw, Gareth Southgate, Lee Sinner and Dean Gordon in defence, Eddie McGoldrick at sweeper and Jeff Thomas in midfield. And the subs bench of Paul Held, Simon Osborne and Andy Barnes. So I'm not sure about you, Ben, but Tottenham, obviously, they've not scored a goal yet, but now they're coming up against a team with 14 defenders and no strikers, so...
Well, they're at home. They need to put all that attacking force behind them and see what they can do. Surely, that first goal is coming.
Coppell's parking the bus. Now time for a first on Relive the League. Tottenham started off the better side. Paul Allen found himself some space in the middle, passed the ball to Vinnie Samways and with a neat turn, cleared up some space to have a look up and find a follow-on run from Allen into the box, who looks up, sees Jury in the middle. He's done it!
Oh, there it is!
He's got a goal!
Well
done, Tottenham!
Finally got it!
Well done! Gordon Jury's got the goal. White Hart Lane's going to be bouncing. There's only one thing for this. We'll share in the atmosphere, guys. I know, well, you're going to get goosebumps, but here we go. That spine chilling. I'm actually emotional, I won't lie. And a few moments later, the referee awarded Crystal Palace a penalty just for Chris Coleman not looking where he was going. Coleman not needing much persuasion to go down, and he's gone down with as much grace as a pig being chucked in a canal, but the ref thought, you know what, it's Spurs, have a penalty. And the ball was given to the man who plays in every position, every week. Eddie McGoldrick, Mr. Reliable, placed the ball down. Torsved saves, 1-1. A great save by the Norwegian international. Spurs' saviour today. Are they going to get the points because of the man between the sticks? And then 5 minutes after half-time, Neil Ruddock makes a world-class tackle on Andy Thorne. Andy Thorne kind of retaliates, but there's nothing to it. Ruddock jogs off back to his position. That's why he's been signed. Bit of bite, bit of vigour. And then they both get second yellows. And they're both sent off for tackling and running back to position. Both teams down to 10, 1-1. Spurs seemed the more affected by the red cards and soon went behind after an Eddie McGoldrick free kick was excellently met by Eric Young to make it 2-1 to Crystal Palace. But today wasn't to be known as another Tottenham Hotspur loss or the debut of two Liverpool characters from the BBC sitcom series. This was Doug Liverpool's Tottenham, a team that never gave up, and Steve Sedgley latched onto Dean Austin's cross late on to make it 2-2 and send the Spurs fans back into raptures and back into choruses that'll give you goosebumps. 2-2, final score. Tottenham have their first point, Tottenham have their first goal, their first 2 goals. They're not the butt of anybody's jokes anymore. Liverpool are a team in transition and getting used to not being as mighty as maybe they once were. Now, under Graham Souness, they're looking to rebuild after winning the FA Cup last season, with the board bringing back Roy Evans as support while backing him instead of sacking him. There hasn't always been the most confidence about Souness' Liverpool side and his ability to lead them, but the fans, they're more confident this season, on the back of the FA Cup win last year and the close run battle in the Charity Shield. They feel that Liverpool are coming back and that 19th league title will be coming sooner rather than later. One of the only highlights of last season, of course, beating Man United at Anfield to prevent them winning the title. Liverpool themselves will be the first to admit the start they've made is not ideal and not up to their standards at all. They're looking to bounce back today against Arsenal, but there might be one problem. They've got a big gun up top. Ian Wright returns. Will he make the difference? Let's find out.
And like Man United, Arsenal have lost their opening 2 games. A very tough fixture today, travelling to Merseyside to play Liverpool.
Wouldn't be like Arsenal to turn up at Anfield and win though, would it?
Graham Souness has picked a strong side for today's visit of Arsenal, with David James in goal, David Burrows, Rob Jones, Mark Wright and Nick Tanner at the back, Steve McManaman, former Arsenal man Michael Thomas, Ronnie Whelan and Jan Molby in midfield, with Dean Saunders and Mark Walters up front, and on the bench there's Bruce Grobbelaar, Mike Marsh and Ronnie Rosenthal. George Graham makes 3 changes for the trip up to Anfield, with David Seaman in goal, Colin Pates coming in for Steve Bold, Tony Adams, Nigel Winterburn and Lee Dixon at the back, David Hillier, John Jensen, Ray Parler in for Jimmy Carter and Anders Limpar in midfield, with Kevin Campbell and a first start of the season and a first Premier League start for Ian Wright coming in for Alan Smith, and on the bench Alan Miller, David O'Leary and Paul Merson. In recent times we've had some classic battles between these two teams, and today was slightly different. In fact, very disappointing for the home team. Today's much deserved man of the match was 19-year-old midfielder Ray Parler, and he was a leading figure in Arsenal's vital opening strike. Skipper Tony Adams' long ball was chased by Kevin Campbell, and Parler's cross struck the heels of both Mark Wright and Mike Marsh, but the youngster kept his balance, and when his far post cross eluded David James, Anders Limpar struck a perfect right foot shot into the corner. In the 52nd minute, 1-0 to Arsenal. And it was Parler who created the second goal for Arsenal. With a neat turn that deceived 2 Liverpool defenders, he looked up and saw Ian Wright, played him on through, and the ball gave him the freedom of Anfield as he headed on goal towards David James. A bit dubious, but the chip went in, and Ian Wright makes his Premier League debut with his first Premier League goal. And for some reason there's a moody Bruce Grobbelaar in an exceptional jacket. Not the start of the season Liverpool wanted at all. They're not playing cohesively, they can't get the best team out either. Graham Souness is quite keen on blaming injuries and saying he can't get his strongest side out, but what they're going to be like, they can't be too much different. There's not many players to come in. Of course, no Ian Rush today, and we haven't seen John Barnes at all this season through injury. Obviously they will make a difference, and it is going to explain the slow start. But we did see the Premier League debut of Liverpool legend Jan Molby, who was given the hard task of marking babyface 19-year-old Ray Parler today. And after the game, the Daily Mirror described it as a slim, lightweight figure marking the roly-poly heavyweight Molby. And I'll leave that there.
And that is why Arsenal are favourites for the title. They worked on the physical side today. They got 4 bookings, 2 key injuries being to Winterburn and Limpar. The Arsenal men putting everything into today, deserving their first 3 points of the season. 2-0 to the Arsenal. What an episode.
Unbelievable.
40 goals.
40 goals.
2
wow.
red cards.
Yeah, just another one should have been a red card though.
A couple of goal of the season contenders.
A couple more.
Yeah, a couple more, so it's just ever growing list.
It's the story we're telling, isn't it? I told you, the Premier League.
Yeah.
8 days in now.
And then if we take a quick look at the table just to show everyone where it's at, Coventry 3 out of 3, top of the league.
Coventry City. Norwich in second is still unreal.
Unbeaten.
Yeah.
QPR, Blackburn, both money
Blackburn
bags.
are in fourth. They've
They're
got
buying it.
disappointed soon. Yeah.
They're buying it.
Yeah, Man United down at the bottom. If you look down there, they've got the worst goal difference in the league. They're sitting second bottom. Arsenal have got a few points. Went up the table, Liverpool have come down below, but if you look at the bottom 3, 2
Wimbledon,
Manchester clubs.
Struggling at the bottom, 0 points.
Yeah.
But
And they still managed to keep hold of Terry Phelan for another week. He wasn't in the side, he's kicking up a bit of a stink there. We still haven't got an end to that transfer saga.
And then we move on to the top goal scorers after the 3 games.
Yeah, we had a new entrant, didn't we, coming this week. David Hurst fired straight up the top. 2 goals in midweek, 2 goals today. We've got Brian Deaney sat on 4. We've got Robbins on 3. Shearer's on 3. They're all English strikers, by the way.
Yeah.
Got an England call-ups next month. Friendly against Spain. How are we going to fit all 4 of them in? Go on, Graham. Embarrassment of riches. We're going to win everything.
And anyone that watched the video that we put out on Friday, we just gave a bit of a Friday preview with the up-and-coming games for this week. We also had a bit of a fun charity bet between me and Mike. Norwich drew. Let me down, Mike.
Yeah, well, I only had 1 team win. That was Blackburn. And then in Pummel City, like I thought they would. Tottenham let me down. But they did come up against a team with 83 defenders in them. And Villa, they've drawn every game. I should have known.
So we will go through the comments straight away. Anybody that's had a winning treble will be going into a hat.
Yeah, we're going to put a genuine £10 bet on for you.
And
if you don't believe in gambling or anything like that, we're not trying to do that. We're just trying to help out and try and give prizes where we can.
There is no sponsorships
There's
involved.
nothing at all. And if you don't want to do that, we've got a giveaway sack like we've mentioned previously, and you can have anything from that instead. Let us know, talk to us. We do this for the people who want to listen to it, who want to watch it, but we don't just do it. We want everyone to be involved as much as well. We want people to benefit from it. So if you're listening, genuinely talk to us, give us a shout. There's always something we'll try and do to help out.
But we definitely hope somebody has commented a winning treble.
Oh yeah, it's literally you putting a treble on that was on from the past,
Mike,
and you have a chance.
Mike, stop telling people how to win.
Well, I don't think I need to.
Anyway, that draws this episode to a conclusion today. I hope you all enjoyed it. We have. It's been eventful.
Well, it's been very eventful, but if anyone has stayed to this point of the outro, message me on Twitter just saying, hello Mike, I was there at the end, and I'll probably try and pop you a little prize over if I can, just to see who's listening by the end of the intro.
And if you are at the end, make sure you like, subscribe, and share the hell out of it.
Yeah, share Dickens out of it. Like I say, I'll be doing that on Twitter as well. That'll be a giveaway into itself. See you all again. See you next week.
And to every single person watching this,
goodbye to you and yours.